Did he die?
I want to say a quick thank you to our new and active users tuning in right now. In case you've missed our last episode, here's a quick clip.
You can't bet against him in the playoffs. This man lives and trains for the playoffs.
6th offense in yards per game, 5th in points per game. I think this Jacksonville team knows what it takes to beat New England.
They always have the right plan in place.
Don't dig me once, dig me 5 times, please. I picked Philadelphia. This is going to be a game to watch. These 2 games that we have this week are going to be phenomenal.
He has the highest increase in QBR from last season.
Oh my God.
Okay, that is a big difference. So if history has taught us anything,
it's don't trust Mario's stats.
All right, let's get straight into our first team firing and hiring, the New York Giants. Tell me about Ben McAdoo and how horrible he is, because he was actually a great coach. I don't care what you say.
So Ben McAdoo, I'll go ahead and throw out these stats pretty much for every head coach that we have here. He had a 13-15 record as a head coach, which is 46%. This man will go down in history for nothing more than benching a beloved Giants hero, Eli Manning. You know, people claim that he really lost the locker room after suspending Janoris Jenkins and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, both defensive captains for the team.
But why did he suspend him?
Like being late for meetings and stuff like that.
can't be late for meetings.
Can't.
Yes.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But
He needs to control the
regardless,
locker room.
regardless, that's what happened.
I wouldn't say I'm in love with the man, but I'd go to dinner. You know, I'd let him buy me some food. All right, he's not that bad. He needed to control that locker room. Mario just said, if you need to be there for a practice and you don't show up and you're a captain, that sends a message.
Fournette, the Jacksonville running back, who's, you know, an all-star rookie, everybody loves him. He missed some meetings and he got benched for a game, and everyone thought that was a big deal. They ended up still winning that game, but you just need to set the tone. It's like, guess what, guys? Like, I'm still the coach. You need to respect me. This isn't I don't understand. So I don't think that's what cost Ben McAdoo. And I don't know if you guys remember, but 2 years ago, Ben McAdoo was a top 2 rumored candidate for the head coaching position for the Eagles to replace Chip Kelly. The way history has gone, thank God that didn't happen.
I know.
Thank God. But people seem to forget that Ben McAdoo as an offensive coordinator was very good. But like you mentioned, he lost the players' respect. And I think it was because he replaced Tom Coughlin. And Tom Coughlin had this thing about Coughlin time, where all the clocks in the Giants facility was set 15 minutes early. Because if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. So how do you replace that? Ben McAdoo just got thrown into a bad situation. I think he gets I think he gets a coordinator job elsewhere, and I think he kind of bounces back.
Yeah, so Ben McAdoo, I mean, he was 13-15 in 2 seasons. The first season was pretty good, but last season, as everyone knows, they fell apart. 3-13. You know, Mario, you said that you lost the fan base 3 games, as quick as 3 games into the season. You know, but he really lost it when he benched Eli. You took the face of the franchise. You didn't even do it the right way. It's just, you gave him a choice. He was the bigger man, and then he ended his streak all because you wanted to start Geno Smith. What is he, the future of the franchise? Like, what is your goal by starting Geno? It's just like you completely lost all the respect of the players. I honestly, to see him get an offensive coordinator job, he'd be lucky. All right, really would be. He would be lucky. This man, he has no respect from players, and the whole league knows it. This viral when he benched Eli. He needs to. I don't know. I think he's going to get a more minor job than an offensive coordinator.
Granted, he had a tough road this year. He lost not one, but both of their premier wide receivers in Odell Beckham Jr. and Brandon Marshall. Both lost to ankle injuries for the entire season. I will give him credit there, but there is something to be said about holding a team together in the face of adversity. And when you don't do that and you just throw fuel on the fire by benching such a well-respected quarterback, it it's gonna go up in flames.
Look, he benched a quarterback, but personally, I liked it. I'm not saying that the optics weren't bad, but as a person, you're the head coach. You're trying to instill culture. You're trying to get control of this team. This team is going from Coughlin time to your time. People aren't showing up for meetings. People aren't respecting you. You need to stand up for yourself and what you believe in. And so if you thought that the best thing for you to do was to send a message from the top down, if suspending your captains wasn't good enough, and if you thought that making a move at quarterback was the right decision, I stand behind the head coach of doing that. Oh, like at the same time, did it help get him fired? Yes. But at the same time, I love somebody who has the cojones to make those type of decisions.
What do you think of the new
yeah.
guy? Like,
Let's
I want to
talk
talk about
the new
Pat
guy.
Schumer. I want to talk about Pat Schumer.
Oh, yeah. Pat
Forgive me
Schumer,
if
my
I'm
bad,
butchering
guys.
his name. He's been an offensive coordinator for a little bit, and he's best known to me personally as an Eagles fan as the Eagles quarterback coach from 2000 to 2008. And that's because he's really credited for shaping Donovan McNabb becoming one of the most prolific passers in Eagles history.
Yep.
McNabb holds nearly every single Eagles career passing record. In 2008, he set the single season records for the Eagles, 345 completions, just shy of 4,000 passing yards, 3,916. He's an offensive genius. And one more thing is his last game that he head coached was back in 2015. He coached week 17 after Chip Kelly was fired, where he
1-0.
He coached the Eagles over the Giants of all teams. But I think Pat Shermer is going to be great. As an Eagles fan, I'm not excited to have this guy as a coaching rival, but I'm excited to hate him because I couldn't hate Ben McAdoo. You just couldn't. Like Tom Coughlin, I hated. I can't hate Ben McAdoo. He's just too funny looking. I'll say it.
He's just too funny.
With his slick back hair and his dad glasses.
This looks like he shouldn't be near a school.
Mario,
Anywhere with kids.
There's a whole lot that I agreed with you there with Pat Shermer. The thing that I disagree with is being worried about having him as a coaching rival. Do you know what Pat Shermer's record is as a head coach?
I know he's 1-0 as an interim head coach.
He is 10-23 as a head coach. Actually, granted, he's 9-23 as a head coach, 1-0 as an interim head coach.
Damn right.
But that's a 30% win rate as a head coach. Granted, those stats might be a little skewed because he was the Browns head coach from the 2010-2011 season through the 2011-2012 season. So, I mean, if you're a Browns head coach, you're not going to have a winning record.
Exactly. So just take that off the books.
Yeah,
1-0.
that's fair, and that was earlier in his career. And then, as Mario mentioned, he was the Eagles' offensive coordinator, and he had a few good years there. And then, most recently, where he came from was the Minnesota Vikings, and I think that says a lot because you look at the development of Case Keenum over last year and how much he did for him, and I think that just speaks volumes as to what he did for a quarterback who, as we've talked about, really was kind of a no-name, kind of more of a role player, and he made him into something. So I think he does some good work in New York and kind of brings them back from fall from grace.
Going off from that into Oakland, they just fired their head coach Jack Del Rio, and I personally am not okay with that firing. All right. Okay, here we go. Jack Del Rio was a good coach. He was brought on to reinvigorate that, to invigorate the fan base, to invigorate that franchise, to do good things for Carr. And what did he do? Carr went great. In 2016, they went 12-4. That's legit. People were hyping them up going into this season. Yeah, did they go 6-10 this year? But mainly that was because of injuries. Like, you can't have your star quarterback go down. You can't and you're bringing in Marshawn Lynch, who I love. I love Beast Mode. I love Skittles. The 12-4 season is who Del Rio was. He had a bad season this year. Realistically, they just wanted somebody new, somebody more, I don't know, rah.
So Nathaniel, I'm going to quote my man Luke Skywalker here when I say it's amazing. Everything you just said was wrong.
Oh.
Okay, so I will go ahead and throw out this stat again that I will continue to throw out. Jack Del Rio, 93 and 94 as a head coach. That is a 49% win percentage. Del Rio was brought in to fix the defense, not anything else. Jack Del Rio is a defensive-minded coach. You know, he's coached in Jacksonville. He's coached in a couple of other places. He just seems like he's getting head coaching jobs because he's been a head coach in other places. I think it really is time for a culture change in Oakland after a very disappointing 2016-2017 season.
Yeah, so he, like you said it best, he was a mediocre coach, 93-94 overall. A lot of that was with Jacksonville. Only had 2 winning seasons in Jacksonville. Obviously, they've struggled as a franchise since they started. But then in Oakland, he was 25 and 23. You know,
that's a winning record, people.
Barely. He came in on a team that realistically should have probably gone 13-3 with the weapons they had. I mean, Bryant, they were your pick.
They should have won one more game.
They were listed to make the Super Bowl. They went 6-10
this year.
All right,
this year,
6-10 this year. They were 12-4 last year, 6-10 this year. Okay, they needed a change there. They really did need a change in Oakland. I agree with David Carr. So, surprised he lasted all the way through the season. They let him through, but going to the Giants may be what he needs as a defensive coordinator, because that's more where his head is at.
But as a defensive coordinator, and again, like, this is the thing that really struck the court of the most, is it took them 12 games to get a single interception. And this guy's supposed to be defensive minded. How are you that bad on defense? So also, you look at Amari, you look at Derek Carr, and they both just took giant leaps backwards. So what do? You go in and get this quarterback-minded coach. You get John Gruden back. He coached for the Raiders back in the late 90s.
Early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s. A little bit of both. And I think what the best part about it is he ultimately won a Super Bowl after the Raiders traded him to Tampa. And who did he win with Tampa? Against the Raiders. Like, how do you get more bittersweet than that? But with that being said, I do not like this hire for one reason and one reason alone. Reason alone.
Yep, we are all missing out now.
Because no coach that has ever won a Super Bowl with one team has ever gone to coach another team and win a Super Bowl with them. So based off that statistic alone, I do not like this hiring.
I mean, not yet. I mean, it's John Gruden we're talking about, the beloved Monday Night Football commentator, who I'm dearly going to miss, by the way. He was one of my favorite to hear in the booth.
I thought that was the reason why.
Spider 2 Why Banana.
You weren't going to like this. Spider 2 Why Banana!
Oh, he was so fun to listen to. He has so much knowledge of the game, and this is going to be great for Oakland just because he is so quarterback-minded. He's going to work very well with Derek Carr. What I don't like about the hiring is the contract. 10 years, $100 million. I don't think you sign a coach to a 10-year deal. That is way too long of a 10-year. And $100 million, that's
literally a 10-year.
That's what he wanted. That's the only way you get him back. So is that worth it? No, if you're Oakland's head office and John Gruden tells you this is the only way I'm leaving the booth, do you do it? You say
no,
you won't.
I don't think you do it, honestly. I like John Gruden. I don't think you take that risk. That's a lot of money for a coach in 3 years. You could be like, man, this isn't working out. But then you got to pay him for another 7. He's been great. Obviously, he coached Oakland before, and he had some success. And then in Tampa, he won the Super Bowl. I don't know. Maybe I'm coming from a perspective because I want to still hear him in the booth. But I don't think you make that contract as Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll go back to the stat that I've brought up with everybody else. He has a 95 and 81 record as a head coach. That is 54% win percentage, the first positive that we've seen so far. Like everyone else has said, he's one of the greatest offensive/quarterback minds in the history of football. He just understands the quarterback position very well. There's a reason why ESPN gave him a whole show about it. Another little tidbit about John Gruden. He was the victim of the infamous Brady Tuck rule.
Oh
my goodness.
That's
in
a
the
good
Snow
one.
Bowl.
Gonna go there.
That's a good one.
So
Calling him a victim.
I think the Raiders brought him in for one reason. That is to get revenge on Tom Brady and Bill Belichick next season.
Well, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get revenge on them, and I'll tell you why later in the show. But I do, for the most part, I like this hiring. To the Eagles fans in this chat with us, how are you going to be? How does anybody complain about a 10-year having a coach for 10 years when you guys had Andy Reid for how long?
Yeah,
And
but it
he
wasn't
is-
a 10-year contract.
Also,
It
wasn't
doesn't-
$100 million.
Also wasn't $100 million.
I'm just saying, like I think for a franchise having a coach being able to having the stability to sit down, be like, this is your team, build it, constructive, form it. That is what's going to help this team go to the next level. Also, yes, he got paid $100 million. I'm going to now call Gruden Mr. Millie from now on because of all the millions that he has to just spread around everywhere. All right. And honestly, he is a good coach. He's only had 3 sub 500 losing seasons, and they were just all with the Bucks in 03, 04, 06. He's had the privilege and the honor to be able to step back and watch the game evolve. How many coaches have to evolve with the game? He's been there to be able to look at all the different schemes that are coming up, all the different types of quarterbacks. Remember, we went from, pocket passing to like the craze of where you wanted your wildcat offense, you wanted your guy to be able to run, back to praising more of a traditional type of quarterback. He's been there through all that, coaching them, learning all their plays. Spider 2Y Banana is still fundamentally sound and will get him a championship, I believe.
Won't.
I just don't think that it's gonna happen as quick as people think it is. All right, like
He's got 10 years. He's got no run.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're more so mediocre for the next year or two before they're really great. All right.
So do you like this? Do you think he's worth a 10-year, $100 million?
I don't know if anybody else. I don't know if anybody.
Is he?
If your question is, do I think I would have paid him $100 million? No.
You don't
my
have
answer.
$100 million to pay this man. But do you...
Can I just say, I hope he continues with the Dunkin' commercials, though, because I love those. Those are great. I really hope he stays with that no matter what.
Sweet Corona commercials.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Gruden
The
Hotline.
Gruden Hotline. The Gruden Hotline.
That'll definitely stick around. Who's next?
Chicago. The Bears.
All right. Chicago also made some changes this offseason. They fired their head coach of John Fox, who was there for 3 seasons. I mean, I'm okay with it. He was bad. He was just bad. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, he was bad. Wow. You couldn't just blame it on Jay Cutler. Like, he was just bad. Like, you need the bottom line of any coach at the end of the day. It was the truest thing I read all week researching this guy is you just got to win games.
I like the switch just because, I mean, he wasn't getting results here. Trubisky, he struggled in his first year, and I do think that's a lot due to coaching. I think they kind of kept it. They weren't developing him right. So I do like this switch. John Fox has kind of had a mediocre career. He did okay in Carolina, but I think it was time for Chicago to move on.
See, I disagree. I think this is the perfect time where I think that John Fox had a rough couple of years in the beginning. I'll agree with that. But now you have this new quarterback, and so you let John Fox kind of grow this quarterback. Let him grow with Mitch. And I think that you let him play at least another year with Mitch and see if you make improvements. And then if not, you can him. But I think it's unfair to can him. So he has a couple of bad seasons. So what do? You give him a rookie quarterback. Of course he's going to have a bad season with a rookie quarterback. Then you can him. That's unfair to me.
Again, John Fox, 133 and 123 as a head coach. That is 52% win percentage.
Great.
And he's been a head coach for a long time. Yeah, I agree with Mario. You look at it, and it's like you're literally handed just a 7-2 offsuit in poker, which is the worst hand in poker.
Oh.
And getting Mitchell Trubisky, a rookie quarterback, to lead your football team. There was a game where he threw it like 7 times, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there was.
I think you give John Fox another year. What does it hurt? You're not making the playoffs next year, realistically, but if you see growth, then you know that you're into something special. But what happened happened. John Fox got fired. He'll find work elsewhere.
Look, if you're talking about growth, then they picked the right person to replace John Fox, though. Matt, and I'm sorry if I butcher this guy's last name, Nagy? That's how I've been pronouncing it? Yeah?
Nagy.
Yeah.
Nagy? All right. So he's a former Chiefs offensive coordinator and a QB coach. If you have a new rookie quarterback, what else do you need? You need somebody who knows offense. You need somebody who knows quarterbacks.
I think they really need to build up Trubisky's confidence next year. They need to kind of let him loose a little bit. There was a game last year. He threw 7 times. They didn't let him progress as a rookie. You know what I mean? And I think if you're Chicago, this coming up season, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. Let him throw the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I like Matt Nagy, former arena football player, as we said, quarterback coach, perfect guy to develop Trubisky. And I think the reason they made the switch out of Fox now is because they want this guy to develop Trubisky while he's young. There's no point in just wasting time and having, you want someone in there now. He's in his second year. It's the perfect time to kind of get him in there and have him grow. Now, obviously, I think Chicago needs more weapons, specifically their receiving core. Obviously, they have they have a great running core, but they need receivers because they just don't have much. And if you have a good quarterback, it's not going to mean all that much if there's no one catching the ball. So I like this move for Chicago. Does it bring them back to dominance? No, not immediately, but it definitely puts them in a better spot than they were last year.
Again, I'm going to preach what I said before. I think that it was unfair that John Fox got the boot this early. But when it comes to Matt Nagy, he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Game
So
manager.
Yeah, exactly. I think he did really well with playing to Alex Smith's strengths. I think that he was also very good on the running side of the ball. Yeah, Jordan Howard. You got that other rookie. Oh, Tariq Cohen. Honestly, I don't know enough about.
Didn't you have both of these people on your fantasy
I had both
team?
of these guys on my fantasy team.
Yeah, wait, but how'd you do, though?
How'd I do in fantasy? I
You
won
won the
fantasy,
champ-
by the way.
I
won the championship. I forgot who I played. Cody, who did I play in the finals?
Oh my God, you damn well know who you played.
Cody in the finals. I beat him in the finals.
Man, at least I made it to the finals.
Yeah. Oh,
Didn't win the Sacco. That's all I care about.
Brian's team, I think, won 2 games.
3 games. Thank you.
3 games.
Plagued by injuries. Okay, I'm done talking about Chicago.
All right. Moving on from Chicago, let's talk about Tennessee. Okay, and they finally, I gotta make this joke, guys. They finally cut the malarkey.
Let's go ahead and just throw it out there. Mike Mularkey, 36-53 as a head coach. That is a 40% win rate. He actually, how he got this job, he moved into the interim head coach position in 2015 when Tennessee cut ties with Mr. Ken Wisenhunt and was made permanent in 2016. This move was super criticized by the media, by fans, by pretty much everybody in the NFL, saying that it was kind of a cop-out move to just hire him as the head coach. He went 9-7 in back-to-back years as the head coach. Nothing really spectacular. No sign of improvement, really. It actually looked like Mariota took a step back this year as being the second lowest quarterback rating in the NFL.
Look, we all saw it coming.
Yeah, it was definitely something that was probably going to happen.
I kind of agree. It was a little bit of a cop-out. I know a lot of Tennessee fans. I'm not a Tennessee fan, so I can't speak too much on this, but I know a lot of them were excited that Mularkey's out of there. I will say that Mularkey started to get something going. They were 10-1, including playoffs, when Derrick Henry got the ball at least 10 times. So I think he started to figure out the game plan. I think that if he would have came back for another year, they could have potentially went 16-0 for the season, feeding him the ball.
Let me just say, Mario, we're going to talk about the guy that they hired to replace him, and I'm excited about this. Mike Vrabel, former Patriot. He was recently the Houston defensive coordinator, and we all know how that worked out. Houston has had a top defense, obviously with help from J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney. This guy is going to be good for Tennessee because I think one thing where they really struggled was defensively. Offensively, they have a lot of weapons. They have Mariota, young quarterback. They drafted Corey Davis, young wide receiver. They got Derrick Henry, DeMarco Murray. They have the weapons offensively. And defensively, Mike Vrabel is going to do wonders for them. I hope he does well. Obviously, he used to play for the Patriots during the early parts of the dynasty. So I hope to see him do well in Tennessee.
I disagree with you. I hope that Mike Vrabel does very poorly. Because you know what Mike Vrabel did to me? Mike Vrabel tore my heart out in the 2004-2005 NFL Super Bowl. Linebacker that decided he could catch touchdown passes. He decided to catch a touchdown in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia. I hope he loses a lot. But realistically, Mike Vrabel in this situation, if Mike Mularkey was a cop-out, this is a Charlie Kelly, Always Sunny in Philadelphia wild card moment. Wow. Where they just do something just nobody saw coming. Mike Vrabel only has 3 years of NFL coaching experience, one of which as a linebacker coach, 2 of which as the defensive coordinator for the Texans, as Cody said. I don't know. I think if I'm Mike Vrabel, I don't take this job.
Really?
I think this is really just dangerous territory to be in as your first head coaching position. Whether or not they just skimped into the playoffs or not, you're still getting into a playoff team that just parted ways with its head coach. If you don't make the playoffs either this year or next year, I think you're immediately labeled as blacklisted. Like, do not hire this guy.
Wow.
Blacklisted? He's just getting started. You got to start somewhere. And are you really going to pass up an opportunity?
Start in Cleveland.
That's everyone's dream. That is how you get blacklisted.
Moving on to another team who is definitely not going to be playing in the Super Bowl this year, Indy. Indy was the next team on our list who got rid of their head coach. And personally, I took it personal. I loved Chuck Pagano. I don't care. This man had heart, okay? He had cancer, people. Cancer. And he kicked cancer's ass. How are you going to come at me and say this person doesn't deserve another year when he beat cancer? His quarterback, the person that's supposed to replace Peyton Manning, is basically hurt for 2 seasons, isn't doing anything. Of course the team's going to be bad. Talk about a person who had everything going for him and then just had a bad 3 years in a row. It sucks. I don't think that you should have lost your job because you got cancer and your quarterback got hurt.
Nathaniel, Let me ask you, when did he have cancer? Do you know the year he had cancer in? 2012, okay? 6 years
6 years ago. Holy cow.
He had cancer, okay? I know it seems like it was just
I actually kind of felt bad for the guy.
Really kind of he took
Wait, hold on. You should still feel bad for the guy. He had cancer.
6 years ago.
But it's still bad.
4-12. That was their record last season. 4-12. I know they didn't have Andrew Luck. They were 31st in yards per game and 30th in points. Bottom of the league, all right?
Okay, but
you can't let this guy stay again. He was 53-43 in 6 seasons. They did have some winning seasons when they had Andrew Luck.
55% win percentage.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Someone came prepared.
But I just want to make it clear, Nathaniel, you're trying to say that because he had cancer,
whoa.
You
Okay,
just give this man a free pass.
You're going to put words in my mouth. I did strongly emphasize that he had cancer,
6 years
but
ago.
I didn't say that that's why he could continue to have a job. I'm saying that, yes, he did have cancer,
6
no
years
matter
ago.
how far back it went, okay? Because cancer's fucking real, all right? But at the same time, this dude hasn't had all the weapons that his weapons haven't been on the field. How can you judge somebody for performance when they haven't had the tools that they needed to perform?
I will tell you how. Because what happened was in the beginning of the year, because Andrew Luck got injured back in 2015. And what happens? He still plays in 2016, but kind of midway through 2016, they pull him so he can get surgery, what have you. 2017 rolls around, okay? They say he's still recovering, he'll be back. Some people are even crazy enough to draft him in fantasy football. Now, we keep going. Later on in this, it was Brian. The season progresses, okay? And people are wondering, what happened to Andrew Luck? Where is he? They finally announce he's on IR and he's not coming back. That's not how you handle this situation. Last but not least, in week 2, Chuck Pagano says they got their asses kicked by the 49ers. They played the Rams. In the post-game conference, he didn't know what team he just played. If he didn't have cancer, he would have been fired a long time ago.
And help is coming in the form of Josh McDaniels.
Josh 4D chess McDaniels.
4D chess, what?
Josh McDaniels is just like super complex about his offense, like the offense that he runs. Like if you look at it, the way that he runs the New England offense right now, Tom Brady doesn't really need to do anything, and the people that he's passing to don't really need to do anything.
It's that serpentine.
It's serpentine, and it works out great. That's why I say Josh McDaniels is playing 4D chess, and we all out here trying to figure out what a checkerboard is.
Right.
Though Josh McDaniels is 11-17 as a head coach, that is a 39%.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about when he was a head coach for the Broncos, because for me, Josh McDaniels will always be remembered as the guy who traded up to draft Tim Tebow. Okay.
Whoa, you love Tebow.
I love Tebow, but I'm just saying, like, he was the man who drafted up to draft him. He traded up to draft Tim Tebow. I think he's a great offensive coordinator. I think he's an excellent offensive coordinator, but I think he's one of those people where he's a great coordinator, not so great head coach. I really don't see this going well for Indy.
Do you know why Josh McDaniels was fired in Denver, Mario?
Tell me why, Brian.
It was a certain scandal that might have also happened in a certain place where he was an offensive coordinator.
Yo, was it Deflategate?
He was fired a week after a videotaping scandal in which a person that he hired, Steve, I literally cannot pronounce his last name. It starts with an S. That Josh McDaniels hired was caught recording a 49ers practice. A week later, McDaniels was fired. Who else did that, Cody? What other team was caught doing that, please?
I don't want to hear about that Spygate scandal, whatever. Spygate,
there it is. You said it.
It was so irrelevant, Spygate. It was just
We
silly.
made it relevant.
It was just silly. Let's talk about this. Josh McDaniels has done amazing things here in the Patriots. I think he went a little too early when he took that job in 2009 to be the Denver head coach, and I just feel like he wasn't ready. But obviously, since then, look, he came back to New England. He came back home, and he was like, "All right, I'm going to do what I do best, and I'm going to work with Tom Brady."
Moving on to our last team, the Detroit Lions. The D. Caldwell got fired, and at first, when I was looking at Caldwell as a coach, I was like, "Why did this man get fired?"
I'll tell you why.
Oh, no, you need to wait in line because I'm about to go in. All right. This man on paper, like, you can point at the fact that they had a winning season. They were like 13th in yards, all this great stuff. I'm gonna let
Here it comes.
But at the same time, he was just a bad coach. I'm gonna list some things for you. One, he was a poor challenge caller. He didn't know when to challenge plays. Secondly, he couldn't manage a game. He was so bad at managing the clock in a game that he had to hire somebody for him. Like somebody's job was to sit there on the sideline, look at the clock and be like, "Dude, you might want to do this before you do anything else," because he couldn't manage time. And then lastly, he was actually bad at planning out plays for his team. I didn't know this up until I was doing research about this, but apparently head coaches, they'll script like the first few drives for an offense. I didn't know that. I think that's dope. But apparently he was so bad at it this season or last season, I think, that he publicly went out and he apologized and said, "Yes, it's my fault. I was not scripting the beginnings of these games really well." So if you're a head coach and you can't manage the basic functions of a game, you know what I mean? Like if you can't tell time, David Blackguard got fired for that. So this guy definitely should have gotten fired a long time ago.
I agree. Jim Caldwell as the Lions head coach was 36-28. I unfortunately apologize, do not have the percentage on that one. So that's my bad. What does matter is that looks pretty good on paper. That's not bad. Against playoff teams in the last 2 years, they were 1-12. So, I mean, Mario was pretty high on the Lions. Has always been pretty high on the Lions.
Always.
I don't know. I don't know if you should be with someone like Jim Caldwell who cannot beat a playoff team to save their life.
I think the problem with Jim Caldwell, I liked him as a coach. This was shocking to me. But this kind of reminded me of Andy Reid being fired back in 2012. But it was just time for a change. I think he's a great coach. I think that what he did there was impressive. I think that what you have there is, so you have Jim Bob Cooter, one of the best names in the NFL, calling your plays on offense. And it's been great. Matt Stafford became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for 34,000 yards before the age of 30. And that's with him only playing 13 games combined in his first 2 years. He was plagued with injuries.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say Cooter was a good offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I like Jim Bob Cooter.
Then why did he get moved? Why did he get shipped off for Joe Lombardi if he was so good?
Damn.
Knowledge.
Yeah. When did he get shifted off?
He got shifted off like midway through the season. He got fired for Joe Lombardi, and Joe Lombardi did so bad that he also just got fired. And they were both his hires.
Wow, I'm thinking back to 2 years ago. What I think is, 2 years ago. So, anyways, Matt Stafford has just been very impressive. I think that they need help back on the defensive side. And I think that's why they kind of went out and got this new coach who is a defensive coordinator. But I think that I always liked Jim Caldwell. I think that he reignited kind of the passion ever since Jim Schwartz left. I was always a big Jim Schwartz guy. Big Jim Schwartz fan as well.
Love Jim Schwartz. Okay.
I love Jim Schwartz. And I love Matt Stafford. I think that this team just needs a good running back because he's had absolutely no help since Javid Best, who was just a concussion waiting to happen on the field. Unfortunately, feel so bad for that man. But
Jim Caldwell was the most surprising firing to me, just because he does look good on paper. Obviously, you guys mentioned a lot of stats. He's not the best game manager, but I do think he catches on with an offensive coordinator job soon. He did lead the Lions to have the 7th best in points per game. And I think that says a lot. Obviously, they were 9-7. Their record doesn't exactly reflect how decent they were offensively. And even defensively, they were actually pretty decent defensively. They played their part in some games. They lost a lot of
ball hawks.
They lost a lot of close games, and that's why their record reflects that. Should he have been fired? Maybe not. I'm indifferent on this one. Maybe it was time for a change there. It'll be interesting. I'm excited for who they're gonna bring in, which is exactly defensive-minded coach in Matt Patricia. Okay, Matt Patricia. His work, it speaks for itself in New England. The defense that he's done there. So they went. Obviously, they can't officially hire him until the season's over, but I think he's going to do wonders for their defense there. And I'm interested to see how he does as a head coach. Obviously, going to miss him, but wish him nothing but success.
I gained a lot of respect for Matt Patricia doing some research on him. Matt Patricia is actually pretty qualified to be a head coach, if you ask me, looking at it. He started coaching in New England in 2004 and held a lot of different coaching positions on that team. He was an offensive line coach from 2004 to 2005. He was a linebacker coach from 2006 to 2010. He was a safety coach in 2011. He's been a defensive coordinator from 2012 until now. So he understands the game as a whole.
That hashtag.
All right, guys.
Trending on
Thank
our
you
channel.
so much for
use that,
spending
great,
another
and,
Friday with
keep
us. I hope
supporting
your
us. It really helps.
weekend goes great. Rezo, I thought you wanted to quickly just tell the fans what's going on our social media coming up.
Yeah, so thank you all for listening and watching, whether you're on YouTube or SoundCloud. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, all at FanCast Sports. Use the hashtag FanCast to, either give us some feedback, just get our attention. We're really trying to get
As always, I'm your host, Neff Daniel, with Bryant, Cody, Mario, and your boy, Rezo. This is FanCast Sports, where the fans speak, so be heard.